Hello and welcome back to Suspended Information. I'm your host, Dennis Patholkis, and this is Titans, Season 2, Episode 8, Jericho. So we finally get the nitty-gritty of what's going on with Jericho and what happened 5 years ago. So let me get a little bit of business out of the way first. If you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, like, share, and subscribe. Also, hey, Joe Greer. Also, if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, you can hit the bell down below. It is a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you and letting you know when I'm on. But if you really want to know when I'm on, go to my website, suspendedfanimation.com, and you'll see the schedule up there. Tonight I was a little bit late because I was a little bit late watching the episode and I need a little time to set some stuff up. So that's why I was a little bit 20 minutes late on that one. Sorry about that. I also have that same schedule up on my Facebook page. There's also a Facebook group page as well where you guys can post stuff and talk amongst yourselves, that kind of stuff. And I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I have a Patreon page, but I don't have any tiers set up as of yet, but I will by the end of the year. So there we go. Let's see here. As always, for those of you who don't read the description of the video, I do a recap first, and then I do a review right afterwards. So that's what this is a recap and review. So, spoiler alert. I am going to spoil the episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Thank you again, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. So, yes, I do like that one. So, there we go. All right, let's see where we're at here. So we start off with Jericho. So the funny thing is the writers. I didn't realize that Jericho wasn't able to speak. I thought he was deaf because he was doing sign language, and I was kind of wondering why he was going to a record store. I wasn't sure if he was doing it for the, some people actually, some deaf people actually buy records for the beat. They can actually feel it, kind of thing. And yeah, so I always thought he was deaf in this. They weren't really explaining it well. It turned out he was actually not able to speak, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So Jericho is on the street. We see him. He's seeing people yelling. He sees cops arresting a kid, and he screams a couple times, like, kind of out loud. And the cop kind of looks at him. And at one point, he sees a human leg being roasted over a fire with people wearing pig faces, and he ends up screaming. Then at that point, he wakes up and he's listening to music. And he gets a text on his phone, and people are asking him if he's coming. He's like, yeah. He goes, he's coming, and gets out of the room, and he tells his mom he's going to meet some friends, and she wants to know who these friends are. Because, of course, remember, she was always paranoid about not looking out the window, not leaving the shades open, all this kind of stuff. And he just tells her that they're friends from the record store. And she goes, well, guy friends, girlfriends, kind of thing. And, she's giving a little bit of a hard time. And he's like, I'm going. And she's like, okay, be careful. So he ends up meeting the Titans over at the beach, most likely over at Ocean Beach, and having a bonfire out there. And they're in their civvies, of course. And he meets up with them. And as they start playing football, him and Hank, Dawn tells Dick that she hates doing this. She hates using the kid. And Dick's like, he's Deathstroke's son. He's the one. He's the way we're going to do this. So they're around the campfire, and they're talking about family and how family's kind of fucked up and all this stuff. And Jericho tells him about his dad being in the military and how he was part of Hive, and he had some medical experiments done. And we get the flashback of this happening of Slade being, having been pumped up full of drugs and becoming this other. Then we see him tied up to a chair and these guys torturing him. And the guys are just about to kill him, and he kind of wakes up. His eyes white out. He wakes up, breaks the bonds that he's in, and just kills all the guys in the room, takes their guns, just starts killing everybody else that's out there. So yeah, it's he pretty much kills all the soldiers and takes their apple too, to begin with, and to finish off with, I should say. So Slade ends up coming home to his wife and kid, and he's got the eye patch now at this point, and he wants to know where Jericho is. And he's out in the backyard mowing the lawn, and Jericho's kind of pissed at him because his dad, of course, wasn't there for his birthday. And Jericho can talk. So again, like I said, I thought he was deaf, but it's that he couldn't talk. And so he's upset that his dad missed his birthday, and Slade gives him this cuff because Hank had actually mentioned he saw the leather cuff that Jericho's wearing and liked it and said it was from his dad for his birthday gift. And we see that his dad actually gave him the cuff. It was his cuff, and he says it protects him out on the battlefield, and now it's going to protect him. So that's what this is all about. And they give him, they hug each other and all this stuff, and you know, he goes back to the Titans, back at the bonfire there, and he says he doesn't know where his dad is or what he's doing now, and he hasn't lived with them for a few years. And supposedly he went into some kind of business with this guy named Wintergreen, excuse me, and doing some kind of insurance thing. We're not too sure on he's not too sure, of course. And one night Slade comes home after one of these business trips. He's less at home than he was when he was in the military. So Slade comes home one night, and some masked men have his family hostage. They're held hostage. Jericho has a knife to his throat. His wife has a gun to the head, and they want to know about the Brussels incident or the Brussels situation and who was the buyer on that one. And Slade basically takes him out. He knocks over the table, breaks off a leg, kills one guy, shoots the other woman in the head, and then uses the table leg to drive it through some guy's chest. But the guy is able to fall backwards and end up slicing Jericho's throat. And that actually cut his vocal cords, causing him to lose his voice. So that's what happened. That's how he became a mute, was by getting his throat slashed. Again, like I said, I thought he was deaf all this time, but he's not. Again, you really need to put this into perspective when you're doing the writing on this stuff, or when you're doing the directing or something like that. You need to actually tell us what's going on sometimes on that, because otherwise we're just going to take cues from what you're giving us and assume some stuff. And you know what Samuel L. Jackson says: when you assume about things, you make an ass out of you and me. I know it's a bad line, but hey, it's Sam Jackson, so of course I'm going to use it. So when he came back home from the hospital, his dad was gone. So the Titans are going through, of course, Wintergreen's background and finding out who he is, and finding out that he has a house out in Bernal Heights. And by the way, Bernal Heights does not overlook the ocean, because they go to the house. And first, Don and Hank Hank wants to play it a little bit cooler. He wants to know more about Deathstroke. He wants to do some recon, all that kind of stuff. And he ends up getting overruled by everyone else, and they just want to get this thing done and over with fast. So they break into the house, and there's nothing there in the house. They're like, "What? He didn't know we were coming?" And then Donna thinks that Jericho might have played them, and that maybe they need to press him a little bit more to get some more information out of him. And Dick's like, "All right, you know what? I'll take care of it. I'll contact Jericho." And he notices that the cup of coffee, there's only a lone cup of coffee sitting on the counter, is still hot. He should have actually been warned about that when he came, been worried about that when he saw that. And he wasn't. So we see Wintergreen. He ends up giving the Slade some photos of the Titans in his house, saying that, they're on to you. They've come to me. And Slade's like, "Well, how in the hell did they find out about me?" And he goes, "I thought you were going to ask that." And he gives him another packet of photos of Dick with Jericho at the record store. And, Wintergreen is actually putting some poison in Slade's ear, saying that, "Hey, your kid, kids are like sponges. They pick up stuff even though you don't think they do. He probably knows a lot more than what you know." And Slade's like, "Nope. Don't involve my kid in this. We're not going there." And he goes, "Leave Jericho out of it." And Wintergreen's like, "All right, just wanted to let you know, though, that could happen." So Donna, in the meantime, meets up with Jillian at the Themysciran embassy. And Jillian tells her that Garth was not the target. And then she shows Donna some video and it looks like it's from Slade's rifle, quite honestly. And we see that Jillian was actually the target. We see the target on her, and we see Garth move at really super speed in front of the bullet, and he takes the bullet for her. So she says, yeah, I was the target. And she ends up apologizing to Donna and says, Garth was one of the good ones, all this kind of stuff. And she goes, but Donna goes, well, we know who the shooter was. It was Deathstroke. And Jillian's like, yeah, we know. We're taking care of it. You need to step down. And Donna's like, well, what are you pulling rank on me kind of thing? And she's like, yeah, if that's the way you want to take it. And Donna's like, no, we're taking him out, whether you like it or not. So, yeah, it ain't going to happen. So Jericho's over at the record store, and this douchebag is giving the clerk a hard time about not being able to find the record that he ordered. And he bumps into Jericho and it's like, watch it, asshole, kind of thing. And we see this mist. Jericho's eyes turn white, and this mist comes out of him, and it goes onto the guy. And the guy all of a sudden apologizes and goes, here, let me buy that record for you. And he grabs the record out of Jericho's hands, walks up to the counter and goes, yeah, I'd like to buy this record. And here's a tip for me being a douchebag and all that kind of stuff. And I have a small penis, is what he says. And all of this stuff. And then he goes back over, gives the record to Jericho, and we see the mist leave him. And he looks confused. And he looks over at Jericho. And Jericho says, he just mouths, thank you. And the guy walks out the door. Well, Dick saw this happen, and Dick's like, did you just do that? What I think you just did? And he ends up bringing Jericho into Titan's tower. Yeah. So Dick ends up telling the team that there's something, something has changed, and that Jericho has something he needs to show them. And he goes, Jericho, go ahead, do it. And Jericho asks which one. And Hank's being a douchebag as he normally is. And so, like, yeah, Hank. So he ends up taking over Hank. And Hank originally, around the bonfire, told us why he would never dance, because he got humiliated when he was a kid and he would never ever dance again. So Jericho is in Hank's body, and he starts dancing with Dawn, and then tells everyone how his powers work, that basically he has to look someone in the eyes. And it might be a result of his dad's experiments, what was left over and all that kind of stuff. And that's how he transfers into someone else's body and takes over. And then he leaves Hank's body and comes back into his own. And Hank's like, what the hell happened? I just blacked out. And Jericho's kind of smirking and almost laughing. He goes, what the fuck are you laughing at? And he comes sort of, no, I'm sorry. And yeah, so Hank, of course, has anger issues, as we all know at that point. So they want to make him a member of the team. And yeah, Dawn ends up taking Dick by the hand and taking him out, aside and going, are we really going to do this? I thought we were supposed to be cutting ties with Jericho at this point. And he goes, yeah, that's what it was about initially, but now he needs us. He needs to be helped. Otherwise, his power is unchecked. Who knows what could happen? And yeah, he talks her into it pretty much at this point. And, of course you could see what's happening. You see where it's, we already saw the aftermath of this, and we know where it's going. Yeah. So, and by the way, Jericho only told his mom. He told his dad too about his powers once, and we end up seeing that whole thing with Slade driving him to some class or something like that, and they're late. This asshole cuts them off in the car and gets out and wants to fight Slade, and he's this doughy little douchebag, and he's got a baseball bat in his hand. And Jericho ends up projecting himself into the guy and drops the bat and says, "Thank you for your service." Gets the guy in the car. And then, of course, leaves his body. And the guy still drives his car away and all that stuff. I don't know how long that influence is supposed to last, but hey, I don't know. And also, he told his mom too. So, and of course, the Titans now at this point. So, Don really does not want to use this kid anymore, but Dick ends up saying, you know what? He needs to be taught how to use his powers, and we can't just leave him. And so she agrees and says, okay, but if we do this, we're going to tell him everything, cards on the table about everything. And she also goes, oh, and by the way, you've kind of been a ghost lately, and basically you're not pleasing me anymore in bed, kind of thing, because you're not in bed anymore, that kind of stuff. And he tries to apologize half-heartedly. It's kind of weird, but anyway. I was kind of a weird kind of shoehorning that in right there. It was a weird sentence, but then again, it fits Dawn's character because she's been doing these weird shoehorning of sentences in between fights, and so I guess that kind of fits with the way her character is, I guess. So Dick and Dawn end up showing Jericho the costumes, and they tell them who they are. Dick also tells him that he didn't meet him at the record store by accident, that they were looking for Jericho to get information about from him about his dad, and that his dad is really a contract killer named Deathstroke, and Deathstroke killed their friend Aqualad, and we want you to join us because you've got powers, kind of thing. And Jericho's kind of jazzed, but then again, he also wants to know more about his dad at this point too. Yeah, they have the worst chemistry pen. I kept forgetting that Dick and Dawn were together as well in the flashbacks because they have the worst chemistry I've ever seen on screen. Like the worst chemistry. I mean, Hank and Dawn have some really good chemistry, those two actors. But yeah, Dawn and Dick did not have that chemistry. The actors, I should say. So we see Jericho packing up his bag, and he tells his mom that she lied to him, and now he's going to go with the Titans, and they're going to go stop his dad. And she says, no one stops your dad, no one. And she said, trying to keep him from leaving, and says, you know what, they're lying to you, they're going to use you as well, don't go. But he goes anyway, of course. So Adele, who is Jericho's mom, Slade's ex-wife now, meets with Slade in the park and tells him that Jericho has moved out and he's going to go live with people who know who he is. And Jericho knows the truth about him too. And Slade's like, yeah, I know who they are. I have a feeling I know who they are. And she blames Slade, of course, for destroying their lives, and wants Jericho back. And for Slade to go away and never come back again. So he's like, all right, I'll do it. And then she says she didn't tell Jericho about him to preserve his idea about who his dad should be, because that's what a boy needs to have in their head when they're growing up so that they can become a man. I don't know where the fuck that one came into, because I was sitting there just kind of going, okay. That was just kind of a weird line, but all right, sure. Why not? So Wintergreen ends up showing up at the record store and tells Jericho that his dad wants to meet him. And of course, Jericho reacts by flipping him the bird. And he ends up trying to put a little poison in Jericho's ear and says, the Titans are feeding you lies, and but come and talk to your dad so you can find out the entire truth from him. And he gives him an address and leaves. So Dawn ends up telling Dick that Jericho told her that he's going to go meet his dad, and that he thought that Dick would be disappointed in him to go and meet him, and Dick wants to use it. He says, you know what? Fine, let him go and meet him, and we can use him to find out where Deathstroke is, and we can finish this once and for all. And Dawn's like, no, we're not going to be using him anymore. And he goes, you're the one who told me to be Batman. And she's like, if this is what you're going to be, I don't want any part of it. I don't want any part of you, kind of thing. And it's like, well, you're the one who told him to be Batman in the first place, and Batman's kind of a dick. He uses people. That's what he does. So, yeah. Of course, Dick learned all the wrong things from Batman, from this version of Dick, anyway, I should say. So Donna ends up getting a text from Jillian saying that she needs to leave Themyscira tonight and that she needs Donna to come to the embassy. And so Donna, of course, agrees. And then we see the embassy, and Deathstroke is the one that's actually sending the text. He's got Jillian's phone because Jillian's dead. She's laying on the floor dead. So that was the contract that he had to finish up, was Jillian killing her. Excuse me. Dick goes, tells Jericho, go and see your dad, and he'll stay out of it. And Jericho gives him a hug and leaves. So Donna goes to the embassy to find Jillian dead and Deathstroke waiting for her. And they start fighting. And she is woefully undermatched at this point because she hasn't gone for her final training in Themyscira. And she gets her ass kicked. I mean, he cuts her a couple different times and ends up stabbing her in the shoulder and brings her down to the ground and tells her, he puts a knife to her throat and a gun to her head and says, "Leave my son alone, stay away from him." And he walks away and she crawls a little bit on the floor, then activates her emergency beacon. Of course, Dick is the one that hears this, and he's going to go and find her. Jericho, in the meantime, is meeting his dad in an old church, and Robin, Dove, and Hawk show up where Donna is and see her bleeding out on the floor. And Robin tells them to get Donna back to the tower, and he leaves. So Deathstroke is there in his costume and tells Jericho that this is the truth. This is what you wanted to know. This is the truth. I am a contract killer. And he apologizes to him for the secrets. Says no more secrets between us. And he gives him back the little leather cuff there. And then Jericho looks behind him because he hears something. And Deathstroke, yells out. He goes, "I can hear your heartbeat and I can hear you breathing." And he goes, "I knew you were going to come here before you even knew you were going to come here at this point." And it's Robin, of course. And Robin says, he's going to kill him for what he did to his friends, for killing and hurting his friends and all the innocence that he's done. And basically, Deathstroke turns it around on him and goes, "You know what? You're wearing a costume. You get other kids to wear costumes. You put them in danger. You're just as big of a monster as I am. You're just you're just on the separate spectrum, the other side of the coin, if you will." And they start fighting. And Robin, of course, is fighting in anger, which isn't helping. And we see where this comes from now when he's telling Jason how Dick was telling Jason not to fight in anger, not to use emotion, because that got used against him with Deathstroke. And Deathstroke's just hitting him in the back of the head, and they both have bow staffs that they're using, collapsible bow staffs. And Deathstroke is just beating the shit out of him at this point. At one point, there's a stun grenade that gets thrown out there, and it goes towards Jericho, and Robin goes to kick it away from Jericho and ends up getting caught in the blast. So I'm sure that doesn't help him. And Slade ends up having a little knife on one end of his bow staff and just starts cutting up Robin left and right. And, Robin used a smoke grenade to try and get away from him at one point. But of course, Slade can hear his heartbeat. So he has a gun on the other end of the bow staff and starts shooting at him and actually hits him at one point. And then finally just ends up beating the fuck out of him. He beats Dick like he owes him money, quite honestly. Yes, I just said that. He's beating Dick like Dick owes him money. So, and he's got him down on the ground, and Slade pulls out his sword, and he's going to end Robin at this point. And Jericho ends up getting between Slade and Robin, and he ends up getting a sword through the chest for his problem. Yeah. So we see at the very end there, Dick is standing in the now shuttered Titan's tower. Everything's got drapes, cloths over them, all that kind of stuff. Hawk and Dove are not talking to him. Wonder Girl basically has her arm in a sling and says, if you need a place, I'm going to New York. If you need a place, to crash, you can come on by and visit me. And that's where it ends. And I was like, damn, we could have had this a little bit sooner, this episode a little bit sooner. But I understand now how they were doing it. They had to actually show us basically they set up some stuff for us. Hey, Jar. So they had to show us, Dick being kind of an asshole and then explaining why Dick's an asshole now in this episode. And it's everything that happened to him. And it's really all about Dick at this point, because Dick is the only one that matters to himself. He doesn't really care about anybody else. Dick is really just a dick. That's really what it boils down to at this point. And I hate to say it, but Slade is right. Dick is just leading these people. He's leading everybody into certain death at this point. No, Batman was a lot better. I mean, I don't know about this Batman. Well, Ian Glenn is not Batman. He's not Bruce Wayne. Let's put it that way. Yes, it is always about the dick, HR. But yeah, it's all about him. That's really what this whole what we're finding out this season is that everything that's happening, it's all about Dick and all about Dick's problems and Dick working through his issues. Not just with Batman, but with himself and what he's done and how he's hurt other people. And he isn't even realizing that he is still putting himself first and just using other people. And he really just needs to go to some fucking therapy at this point. You know, he really does. As Rose said, they need some super therapists in there. And Jason was right that, they need to be able to talk first in order to get a therapist in there that'll actually help them. So let's see what you guys were saying. So far this episode, I like this episode. It was actually really well done, to tell you the truth. There's some clunky lines that were in there, like one or two clunky lines, but nothing that was so out of place where you're just like, what the fuck? Or it brings you out of the whole thing. It explained a lot. It it actually primed us now to bring us back to the present. How many hallways? There weren't any hallways in this one, believe it or not, Joe Greer. So they don't deal with hallways in this. They end up going into the kitchen. The group meetings are always in the kitchen. Everyone's eating. That's what the Titans MO is on that one. Yeah, talks at tables. That's what it is. Not feelings in hallways. It's talks at tables. Yeah. Yeah, I like this one too. This was I would say this is an 8 out of 10 for me on this one. The fight scenes were actually pretty good. Isai Morales looks fucking badass in that costume. And we finally got a good look at the costume, the Deathstroke costume, and him putting on the mask. And I still want to know what the red eye is, if that's a actual bullseye, because I mean that's his eye that's cut out at this point. So I want to know what this is. Yeah, I actually like the original team better than the new one as well, Penn. It's kind of funny though. I feel kind of bad for the people that are playing like Beast Boy and Raven at this point, because they haven't been in much of the season, quite honestly. I mean, Superboy had an entire episode devoted to him, and he's been in more he's had more screen time this season than either Raven or Beast Boy have had. And yes, Isai Morales makes an awesome Deathstroke. I wasn't too sure about that, to begin with. And now that I see him as Deathstroke and Slade, I mean, he's the perfect pick. Why couldn't they have done that for Batman, for Bruce Wayne? Where was the casting director on that one? Quite honestly, because Ian Glenn makes a great Alfred, but he sucks as Bruce Wayne. I mean, just sucks as Bruce Wayne. So, some other things, I don't know why. So they made a show of Robin or Dick seeing the hot cup of coffee in Wintergreen's place, and even he touches it, but then nothing follows up on that one. It was kind of like, all right, maybe I don't know. There was a couple of weird little things, but could be the special effects, like the steel sitting on the sidelines on the Legends show now. Oh yeah, well, they can't afford that. They can't afford him to be Steel anymore. They really can't. They need to save the budget for the whole crossover event, because it's gonna be huge this time around. Penn says, I thought Dick looked quite a bit like Jason at the end of the fight scene. Maybe it was the hair. Yeah, he did look quite a bit like Jason, I have to admit. Also, he didn't have the little Robin throwing stars either. So that was added to the costume that we saw at the beginning of season 1. Yeah. Did Jericho run into the sword? No, he didn't. He stood in front of. He basically what he did was he stood up and in front of Robin, so that when Deathstroke turned around, because he was just going to drive the sword straight into him, and he drove the sword into Jericho's chest instead. So this also leads to a theory that I have. So Jericho's powers, since he can switch bodies by looking into someone's eyes, the last person whose eyes he was looking into, because Dick was unconscious on the ground or was going into unconsciousness on the ground, was Deathstroke. So could he have left his body and gone into his dad's body as he was dying? And then his dad, when he had Jason, transferred over into Jason. So what we're seeing with Jason's eyes, in the last episode with him falling all the time and those that scrolling thing happening with his eyes, it could be that Jericho is still in there and has taken him over a little bit. So yeah. I'm pretty sure that's where they're going with this. And if that's the case, then where do you go to from here? Where do you put the soul at, if you will? Is it just going to go someplace else? Are they going to transfer it someplace? Is it going to go into Rose? Is Rose working with her dad too at this point? Because all those different gifts that were being left around Titan's Tower is somebody who actually knows these people, and Jericho wasn't with them long enough in order to do that. So yeah, he really was not with the Titans long enough to know that the orange soda thing for Donna, or that Hank liked to drink a lot. And I want to say it's Rose. Yeah. Why wasn't Rose mentioned in all the flashbacks? That's a good question, Penn. That was the other thing too that was kind of weird. So Rose isn't mentioned at all, even though she's probably it's 5 years. So let's just say she's a teenager. Let's say she's 18. So she would have been 13 at the time of his death. Yeah, where was she all this point in time? Even if you want to say that she's 15 now, she still would have been 10 at that point. So where was Rose at this point? It's a good question. And that was kind of another weird thing. It was like, what the fuck was going on there? But all right. Wow. Is she his half sister on his mom's side? I don't know. Let's see what else you guys are talking about. Dick is seeking redemption, finally paid off, Joker. Well, isn't that what the next episode is called? No, the next episode. So we only have 5 episodes left after this. And the next one is supposed to be some resolution to all of this. So I guess we go back to the present now. We have some resolutions to what's going on, and probably finding out what the fuck happened to Jericho too at this point, whose body he's in. If he's still in someone's body. Yeah. But we'll do that. But not until showing the abs. Joker, YouTube has a subscribe button problem. I didn't know. Did they? Yeah. Oh well. Anyway. Yeah, I hope we get some answers. Yeah. 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 So anyway, with that said, good episode tonight. Like I said, 8 out of 10. There's a couple of little weird things here and there, like not mentioning Rose, the coffee cup, and a couple of weird lines, but it didn't detract from it at all. And the music didn't play a big part in this one this time around. I was kind of surprised because they've been dealing a lot with 80s music. Again, which is weird because if it only happened 5 years ago, that was 2014. That's, sure, you could use some 80s music, but I mean, the way they made it look is like it happened 20 years ago or something instead of just 5. But you know, it's what happens when you get old and you're trying to write for kids or supposedly teenagers at this point. Yeah. Well, so, with this said, if you like what you see here, share, like, and subscribe. You can hit the little subscribe button, hit the like button down below. If you're still on the fence about joining up, at the very end here, you're going to see a video pop up here. Basically, what YouTube does, it takes your algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and matches it to one of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up there just for you. Also, up here is going to be, excuse me, is it worth my time? The Good Place is going to be up there. And also, if you want to know when I'm going on live again next, go take a look at suspendedfanimation.com for the schedule. It's also up on my Facebook page. There's also a Facebook group that you guys can talk to, post, and talk amongst yourselves. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I also have a Patreon page, but I don't have any tiers set up as of yet until the end of this year. Like, share, and transcribe. Sure, why not? All right. I was just reading some of the stuff here in the chat. Okay. So tomorrow is going to be Saturday Morning Blast Off, where I take the genre news of the week and any other genre stuff you guys want to talk about, and we discuss amongst ourselves for a little while. So that's always a lot of fun. Sunday is a doubleheader with Mr. Robot followed by Watchmen. And I'm still on the fence about Watchmen. I really am. Monday I'm off. Tuesday, oh, excuse me, you know, I almost forgot. So also tomorrow, after I do Saturday Morning Blast Off, in the evening, I'm actually going to do Feelings in Hallways. I've actually moved over Feelings in Hallways to Saturday night just for this week because I wasn't feeling too spiffy last night to end up doing that. So I moved it over to Saturday evenings for Feelings in Hallways. That's where I talk about the genre, the DCCW shows that for the week. Yeah. Yes, you do get another live broadcast this week. Monday I'm off. Tuesday is it worth my time? And I'm thinking I'm doing the Paul Rudd Netflix series, Living with Yourself. Yeah, I'll do that one. I think Paul Rudd's Living with Yourself is going to be good. Then, of course, Thursday is going to be Feelings in Hallways again. And Friday is Titans all over again. And take a look at the website. I am going to be putting up some stuff that's going to be coming up, like His Dark Material is coming out on November 4th. The Mandalorian's coming out on the 12th. There's some other stuff too that I have written down in the book that I need to actually put there. Friday, you're in love? Sometimes. I don't know. I was going to say something really bad, and I'm glad I caught myself on that one. I'm glad I self-edited before it even came out of my mouth. So, yeah, that's the song. Friday, I'm in love. Yes. Nope, not going to say it, Ben. It has left my brain. That's all there is. And I did a couple dick jokes for you guys already. So, and there's some pretty good dick jokes. There's about 3 or 4 of them in there. Even though they're not doing dick jokes anymore on the show. I'm kind of disappointed in the dick jokes. But they have ramped up the quality, I have to admit, of the writing because they got rid of Akiva Goldsman and pawned him off on Picard. I'm glad you'll imagine something worse because it's always better than what I'm going to come up with, most likely. A drum roll with a laugh track sometimes. Yeah, season 2 is so much better than season 1. It doesn't come close to Doom Patrol still, but you know, Isai Morales as Deathstroke is pretty damn much hitting it at this point. It's on target. So, with that said, I'm going to let you guys go for the evening so you can enjoy the rest of your evening because I was a little bit late. Sorry, especially for those of you on the East Coast. Thank you to everyone who joined me tonight in the chat. Thank you if you made it this far in the video. Remember to share, like, and subscribe. And thank you also to all the people that have already subscribed. I'm up to 411 subscribers now at this point, which is really cool. It's picked up quite a bit. I know Mr. Robot is a good reason for that, but still, yeah, more people to come in, the merrier. Come on in for Saturdays. Saturday morning blast off is awesome. And they're promoting Swamp Thing. It's still hurt. Are they promoting Swamp Thing still? I didn't know they were. That's kind of shitty of them. Yeah. I just made my Google Assistant give me a drum roll and a laugh track. Nice. You remember when I was 2 digits? Yeah. Yeah. They're saying to binge Mr. Robot? Really? Or Swamp Thing. Oh yeah. So yeah, I remember seeing that Mark Verheiden has been pushing that on Twitter because I follow Mark Verheiden. He was the showrunner for Swamp Thing and Daredevil, the first season of Daredevil. Yeah, the one of the best seasons of Daredevil. And also Ash versus Evil Dead seasons 1 and 2. The dude is like on fucking fire and needs to be hired up and for something. Marvel should hire his ass and put him on for one of the Disney Plus. Yeah, Daredevil season 1. Mark Verheiden was the one that was a showrunner on that one. Remember the fucking hallway fight scene? That's Mark Verheiden right there for you. Yeah. Not many channels are covering Mr. Robot. I think that's helped. Yeah. A lot of not a lot of people are into it. And that's kind of what has hurt it a bit. Oh, and by the way, there is a great. I happened to go down a rabbit hole this morning by accident. I was on Twitter. I was reading a tweet from Sam Eshmail, and he in his profile on Twitter has a website address, and it's smail, his last name, smailcorp.com. And it's the trippiest fucking website I've ever gone to. It really is. And at first I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And then I ended up seeing the number to call up customer service, which I did. And it just got weirder from there. So that's one of the things I actually posted on the group chat or the group page on Facebook. Excuse me. With the address on there. If you guys are interested, go take a look. Otherwise, you just go to Sam Eshmail's Twitter account, take a look at it. It's really funky, and it's so him, quite honestly. And yes, I know it's BD Wong's birthday today. It's kind of funny. Somebody posted, I think it was our good friend Susan Lighton, was actually talking about him being in Jurassic Park and all this stuff, but you completely forgot Mr. Robot. Completely forgot Mr. Robot, that he's in it right now, which is his best work right now as White Rose and Z Zhang. All right, guys. I really am going to let you go. Law and Order, yeah, but that's far away. Mr. Robot is by far, I think, his best thing that I've seen him in. There you go. Checking it out now. eshmailcorp.com. It's just trippy. It's fucking weird. Yeah, it's supposed to be kind of like, so now we know where E Corp came from. It's Eshmail Corp. Yeah. Yeah, and definitely call up the number. You have to call it up on a phone. Yes. But there is a customer service line and it's interactive. Yeah. Jeremy Irons and Robin Williams, the show has had guest stars. Yes, I know, Joe. But that's like been 20 years now. I want to go into something a little fresher, Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go for the evening. Thank you, everybody who joined me tonight in the chat. Thank you if you made it this far in the video as well. And I will see you tomorrow for Saturday morning blast off. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, Deathstroke might just cut it off and hand it to you because that's the way he is. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.